Hello, welcome back. Happy Sunday. So this video is brought to you guys by an email that I received. I think it was this weekend or sometime last week. I'm going to read you guys the email and I'm going to share my thoughts on regarding the topic of what this person is concerned about. So, how are you guys doing? I feel like it's been a while since I've actually had a discussion with you guys relating to cuckolding. In fact, this video is really not about cuckolding. It's something different. So, let's just jump right on in here. I really don't plan for this video to take that long. My Sunday has been so refreshing, shall I say. I've been listening to the Wakanda trailer loop over and over again. So that song is stuck in my head. And it's my future. You can't forget your past. So dry your tears and say everything gonna be alright. Alright. So I find it interesting always when you guys respond to my videos. I'm interested in seeing like your perspective on my video topics, especially as it relates to alternative sexual lifestyle and activities. I think sometimes you guys may misinterpret my approach or the things that I'm conveying in my videos, assuming that I am involved in the lifestyle of certain activities just because I talk about it. So I think I've made that very clear, that just because I talk about particular things doesn't necessarily mean that I myself am directly involved in these activities. You know, I do have an open mind and I like discourse, like on various topics, various taboo topics. So I invite you guys to inbox me via Facebook, or I say particularly via email. You guys can contact me using the contact page on my website. My contact information isn't hidden, so if you guys are watching this video, especially on YouTube, then voila. So don't hesitate to reach out to me if you guys have a video topic suggestion. I will be more than willing to entertain. I usually address and respond to most email requests that I receive. So again, like I was saying, I'm interested in seeing you guys' feedback and responses to my videos. And it was a comment that I read, a couple of comments that I read recently on a video that I made relating to cuckold, where I saw this man. It was like a thread. It was a comment thread where this guy, he was like, yeah, he was thrilled by the idea of having a bull satisfy his wife. And I think he had some experience with this. He was like, yes, it helps to keep my marriage together. You know, I've had great success with this, right? This is his comment on one of my videos. And then someone replies most recently. And I thought this was hilarious, because it's just interesting to see that not everyone has the same perspective, right? So this other person replies to that comment, and this man says, oh my gosh, how disgusting. Like, his perspective was so far different, like so much different than this guy who was like thrilled by having a bull satisfy his female partner. This guy was like, how can you guys do this? And like, I'm very careful to kind of make sure that I read meticulously through these comments, because one thing I don't tolerate is disrespect and just people trying to belittle people. You know, putting people down. Like, that's not my thing on this page, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube. Like, I don't condone that, essentially. But I do welcome different perspectives. And so as I'm reading through his comment, of course I'm gauging to see, okay, is this guy trying to make this person, you know, feel like shit, essentially, right? Is this person, like, is his comments kind of overstepping the boundaries, right? Because it's one thing to express your perspective. If you disagree, you disagree, right? We have the right to disagree. And it's another thing to like call a person names, you know, or try to make them feel like less than, like inferior, you know, just because they have a certain sexual alternative lifestyle. Because I myself clearly am alternative in my sexual beliefs and practices, so I wouldn't want anyone to make me feel that way. So I'm very careful as I read the comments to kind of weed out those people who are inappropriate, who are offensive in responding to other people's sexual practices or the ideas, because we're all entitled to our own lifestyle and our own opinions, you know. But he wasn't necessarily offensive in that way. He was just expressing his thoughts regarding the activity, saying that he would never allow a man to have sex with his wife, right? So I'm like, okay, that's safe. So I get this email. This came in September 3rd, which was yesterday in the afternoon. And this person says, "Hello, Danielle. I need your honesty." I'm always honest, okay? Pretty frank with you guys. Very candid. Straightforward, you know. He says, "Does a white man without great natural physical qualities..." Now, you guys know what that means, right? Great natural physical qualities. Because interwoven through a lot of my videos, especially on cuckolding, is the emphasis of being well endowed or lesser endowed for a man in his manhood area, right? So I'm assuming this person is less endowed or lesser endowed, shall we say. He says, "Does a white man without great natural physical qualities necessarily have to come to cuckolding?" And let me specify, because it doesn't mean that he has to be lesser endowed in terms of length, right, or girth. It could just mean that he just doesn't have what it takes physically to satisfy his woman. Like, you can have the package. It can be the correct size and length and all that. But if it's not functional, then what good are you in the bed, shall we emphasize, right, to your wife? I think that's the concern here. That's the question here, right? He says, "Without great natural physical qualities necessarily have to come to cuckolding, to result to cuckolding to satisfy a beautiful white woman. Cordially," he says. So, this question, although very short and concise, is very multi-layered when you think about it. Now, he, I think, makes it clear that he is a white man and that his preference is a white woman. He doesn't have an interest, apparently, in cuckolding and bringing in a bull to satisfy his woman. He's basically saying, what are the alternatives, right? Because obviously much of the talk has been, not just on my channel, but in terms of satisfying a woman, is bringing in a bull to meet that need, right? That expectation. When the partner is lacking. So I'm going to address this from many different angles. First and foremost, he's white, and I think, yes, that's important, but at the same time, regardless of race, what I'm going to say can apply to any racial couple, right? Where there's a male partner, there's a female partner. He's trying to find ways to satisfy his woman, right? But then there is an issue. There's something going wrong physically that is getting in the way of him being able to thoroughly satisfy his female partner. Like I said, irrespective of race, I think this applies just across the board. First and foremost, you got to know your female partner, your woman. What does she like? Every woman is different. I'm thinking if you've been partnered with this person for a while, you should know what she likes. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong, because they enter into relationships and they enter into relationships self-servingly, like very selfishly. It's about, what can my partner do for me? Not necessarily how can I please my partner. So the fact that this person is emailing me curious, wanting answers, and to explore ways that he can satisfy his partner, kudos to you, right? Because it shows that he is thinking about someone outside of himself, his partner, right? And how to satisfy her. It sounds like, I would imagine this is a new relationship. But like I said, if you've been with this person, then you should know your woman. But every woman is different. So have you asked her? Sometimes it's just a quick, open conversation, right? Being direct and straightforward as adults, right? We're not children. I remember in my last relationship, and I've shared this before, where this was around 2014. So I had just began to explore this whole lifestyle of BDSM. And I had relocated from Atlanta, Georgia to New York City. I had written an autobiographical fictional fantasy story called Dying to Submit, which is now on my website. Excerpts are there on my website for you guys to be entertained by, if you may. So I had already written this story, right? It's a very short story, autobiographical. Back when I was in Atlanta, Georgia, I moved to New York City. I met my partner, my last partner, who I was involved with, right, in a serious way. And I'm pretty transparent. This is like all around the board. I'm transparent in my intimate relationships, my personal relationships, I'm transparent in professional relationships. I am just me, right? So I had divulged to my partner as we were getting to know each other that, number one, I'm a writer. I've written an autobiography, right, on my life, but I've also written a fictional story that's autobiographical called Dying to Submit. I shared this with him, right, and he was curious to read both. And I find that interesting because you have people, and this is, I don't know, I think this is a new thing, right, and I wonder social media's role in this, but apparently you have people that claim to be interested in a person, but they're not interested in what that person does or is interested in. For example, I follow Kendra G. She's a radio personality, and she hosts this dating show that she does very frequently throughout the week. So I was on the show yesterday, not that I was a guest on the show, but I was a spectator watching the show, and there was this guy who came on the show, and he says that he's looking for a woman, but he specifies a particular kind of woman that he's interested in, right? So he's not interested in too. So he's saying that he's come across women who are educated, they have degrees, right? And this man is single, no kids, successful, you know, financially stable and all of that. He said that he's come across women that are, you know, college educated, they have higher degrees, they have great careers and incomes and all of that. But that's a turnoff for him, that he's not interested in that. He said the issue that he's encountered with these women is that they lead conversations talking about their jobs or their careers, you know, and this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, what is wrong with that? How is that problematic, right? But then you think about it, and you begin to listen to this person talking and hear this person out and read between the lines, and you see that, oh, this person is really self-centered. That's going to be a problem down the road, right? Because he goes to say the kind of woman that he wants, and essentially the woman that he wants is a woman that is willing to stay at home, to put the family, essentially him, right, and the children that come from their procreation first. Not her career, not the things that she's already been working towards up until this point. Granted, now, this guy is, okay, he's in his late 20s, right? But even still at that point, the preference in the age range of woman that he's looking for is around his age and even older. So I'm like, okay, if you're looking for women who are a little slightly up in age, relatively speaking, then they have devoted significant time, significant portions of their life to building their career. So you want these people to just say, to hell with that, and to make it all about you? I think that's a huge risk, first and foremost, to take. That is a huge risk for a woman to take, right? Such as myself, for example, right? Like if I've devoted so much time in working towards doctoral degree, right? I've earned that. Now I'm working towards credentialing. This is like a huge investment of time, energies, blood, sweat, and tears, all of that. And to come across a man who says that this is what he wants me to be like more so a stay-at-home mother, and to prioritize the family, prioritize himself essentially, and the children that we procreate over my career, me my interest, right? Not set aside my career as a clinical psychologist, but even me being a writer and earning money through that, you know, in that avenue, right? Doing book tours. Like, he doesn't want that to be a thing. He has absolutely no interest in that, right? So bear with me, guys, because I'm going to bring it back all together, right? This is talking about understanding your partner's interest and what satisfies your partner. This is multi-layered, right? I know we're talking about it from the angle of, you know, sexual satisfaction, but this is multi-layered. This is interwoven into many different aspects of your partner's life and identity, right? So, and it takes a smart person. It takes a smart person to understand these nuances. So, I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this video, like, this is not going to work, and he's never going to find that partner, especially this day and age. It's going to be very difficult for him to find that kind of person, and it sounds like the dynamic that he wants to create is a very unequal power dynamic, which I'm thinking part of me is like, okay, I'm a submissive, right? So I'm not necessarily completely opposed to the idea. That could actually work. When you think about it, it could work for a person who is, because he said directly that he wants a submissive woman, right? When he was on the show yesterday. So I'm like, that could possibly work for a person like myself who is submissive, but that is taking a huge risk, right? Because a woman is essentially putting everything that she has worked towards on the back burner, right? And relying completely upon this person for her complete survival and satisfaction. You, as a man, really have to bring it. Like, you really have to have all your ducks lined up in a row. Like, everything has to be checked out. You have to really dot your I's, cross your T's. Really be on point, because, like I said, usually that doesn't end well. It can go well, but usually. Right? So, seeing the juxtaposition of this kind of person, this kind of guy who's like, I don't want to hear about her talking about her career, right? And this is things that she's interested in. And clearly, like, if she's chosen this career path, that is her interest, right? That is her life purpose, her calling. For a man to say he's not interested in that, like, then you're not really interested in her. You're only interested in how a woman clearly being objectified to meet your needs, to fulfill your needs. To each his own. But going back to my ex-partner back in 2014, like, seeing how he displayed a genuine interest in really getting to know me, and I knew that because he was curious to learn about every aspect of me, including my writings, right? And in learning about my writings, he saw that I'm a submissive. And he was curious and he was open-minded to being willing to try these things out, to understand, you know, what is it that I was seeking in that moment and how he could fulfill that role. But it kind of fit together like a glove, right? Because I don't think that my ideas and my interests were too much far-fetched from what he was interested in, right? Him being more of a naturally dominant man. So it worked. So I say that to say, for the person who sent me this email, like, you have to understand what are her interests. Where is she coming from? What turns her on? Even though you may, because he didn't specify if he's lesser endowed or, you know, if he experiences erectile dysfunction disorder. That's a thing, especially as a person ages. You know, there are many different factors that could negatively impact a man's ability to get an erection, maintain an erection, you know, through completion, all right? So I made a video about erectile dysfunction disorder and how stress alone can negatively impact that whole process, right? A man's diet, you know, there are many different things. A lot of men are just excited, you know, so the treatment for that is just to teach a man mindfulness techniques, right? And just being able to be present in the moment and slow himself down, right? To control his anxiety so that he's able to sustain an erection through completion to the point when he wants to ejaculate, right? And not ejaculate prematurely. So that is a really important factor, you know. It would be helpful to have a little bit more information from this person. I'm sure this person will see this video who sent me the email. You can easily send a reply to the email that you sent me to clarify, and I can follow up in a video response. Like, what exactly is the concern? What is the malfunction going on, right? He just says that the physical characteristics, something is kind of abnormal about the physical characteristics, but he doesn't specify. He doesn't specify what is it exactly, right? That could show up. He said without great natural physical qualities, right? That can show up in many different ways. So I can only speculate, and then explore different solutions relating to these different speculations, right? Perhaps he is lesser endowed in size, right? So how can you satisfy her? You would have to know what makes her happy, right? That's why I gave the example of sharing my experience with my ex-partner back in 2014. He got to know me as a person. It really starts there with the mind. I think a lot of men lead like out of order, right? They start with getting their needs met, and then they wonder why they can't really get their needs met, because they really start on the wrong foot, right? Selfishly, self-centeredly, right? It's more egotistical thinking. Unfortunately, a lot of men have been shaped improperly by society to think only about themselves and that the world revolves around them, and then see how that negatively impacts them later on down the road. Like, you're going to have problems essentially with that perspective and taking that approach. It does not work, right? But then you see the magic that happens when you put your partner first, and not that you said not that you're putting like that everything, not that everything is centered around your partner, but you see that it's not just about you, right? It's not just about you. You're talking about a dynamic. You're talking about a relationship that involves not just you, but someone outside of you. This is a dynamic. So in order for you to be happy, your partner has to be happy. It's a two-way street here. Even in relationship dynamics where, yes, there is a power exchange, like masters, true masters, who are well equipped, right, and very skilled at what they do, will tell you that even for them to be thoroughly satisfied, like you have to put yourself aside a bit to understand your partner. Understand this person who you are interacting with, right? So, I want you guys who are watching, feel free to share your comments below, your thoughts, right? I think that, yes, to answer your question from a general sense, there are obviously ways that you could satisfy your partner without having to bring in a bull. I think men, they choose that because they're titillated by the experience, the idea even of bringing in a third person and being the observer of this, right? I went into detail to kind of explore the underpinnings of, and the psychological underpinnings, analyzing this from a psychological perspective of cuckolding and why do men become cuckolds, right? So you guys can go back and watch that video. I created a whole series on this on my channel on YouTube. So just go back and look for my series on cuckolding. You guys can see it. I want to say album, but it's not called album. What is it called on YouTube? Playlist, right? So I created a whole playlist of videos relating to the topic of cuckolding. So I encourage you guys to go back and check that out. But I did break down the psychological underpinnings of why men are drawn to that. Why are, especially white men, drawn to become cuckold? And why are they interested in a black man penetrating their female partner? Apparently, this guy who sent the email, you're not quite interested in it. That's not your thing. To each his own, right? You want to explore other ways, and I think you not only want to explore the ways, but you want to initiate conversation on this topic so that, men like yourself can see that, there are other things that can be done to meet your partner's needs and wants and expectations. It doesn't necessarily have to be bringing in another person, especially some random person that you don't know, because alongside that, you guys have also sent me some horror stories of things that did not go well, and the regrets that you experienced and you still continue to face that came as a result of just being willy-nilly out there, you know. Yes, we want to have fun, and yes, we only have one life to live, so we're living it to the fullest, but at the same time, knowing that whatever decisions you make, whatever choices that you make, there are consequences attached to that. So you have people that say that unfortunately they end up having, the outcome was a child, like an unwanted child that came from this, and they don't even know who the father is because their female partner was just out there, which this was a mutual agreement that they consented upon to, be out there and swinging back and forth and having fun, but at the same time, understand like that you're not remiss of having consequences, negative outcomes that are attached to this too. Being mindful of that, as an adult, responsible adult person. So just dialing it back a little bit and slowing down to see, okay, well, what are some safer ways that I could explore to, meet my partner's expectations, and understanding what are her expectations, right? Maybe you see something that you want for yourself and your partner, right, in a sexual dynamic, but maybe that's not what your partner sees. What does she want? What makes her happy? I think some people make assumptions about a whole gender of a species and not really coming to understanding of who this person is on an individual level, right? You have men that think that just because women age that somehow we get dried out and we're not horny anymore and we don't want to have sex. Like, well, nothing could be further away from the truth. If anything, women, we have multiple sexual peaks throughout our lifespan, even through our 40s, through our 50s, 60s, women are still, women still get horny, women still be wanting it, right? So, not to make assumptions, because the whole time you can be coexisting with a partner and you have these assumptions in your mind that, oh, they really don't want that, and you don't really know until you have that conversation to ask your partner these things, to explore, like, how can I help you to reach a level of sexual satisfaction, right? And you don't have to do it alone, right? There are workshops, there are books, like there are a lot of things like online that you can explore with your partner so that it becomes normalized. That it's not just you and her that, are in this situation, but you'll see like this is a common theme that people are experiencing. And I've said this before, like I would like to expand my platform to be able to have more of these discussions with you guys, and to have more interactions like live with you guys. Now, that I'm on YouTube. All my videos are pre-recorded live here on Facebook, but when you're watching on YouTube, it's unfortunate because I'm playing it live on YouTube, right, as a premiere, but it's already recorded. I've already recorded the video, so I'm not being able to interact with you guys live. That's why I encourage you guys to come over to Facebook. And I say, oh, I don't have access to Facebook. Listen, everyone has access to Facebook. It's just a matter of you joining the website, right, or the app. So it's really up to you if you would like to engage. I just find it weird, though, because I go live on a regular basis, and you'll have people that message me privately and like, how can I interact with you? To me, I find that question, I don't want to say dumb, but it's kind of dumb. Like, if a person is going live, that's the point of live videos, right? Is to interact. So I'm going live on a regular basis, at least once a week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week, depending on my schedule. And yet, you guys will still flood my inbox and say, how can I get to know you better? How can I interact with you? It's like there's a disconnect there or something. So I really don't entertain those questions and those messages that you guys send. Like, I see them, but I don't entertain it because I'm like, it should go without saying. Just join my live videos. I've said this before. Just join, right? I've even made a whole series of I'm available to chat, right? It's a playlist on YouTube called I'm Available to Chat. To explain to you guys, like, this is how you can interact with me when I'm live. I've carved out time where I've specifically made live videos titled, hey, I'm here. I'm here, I'm available to chat. I get that, everyone has their different schedules and, it's conflict and time schedules. I get that, but listen, alternatively, you guys can send me direct email messages as this person has done, and share your thoughts, share your questions, concerns, and then I could address them in my response in a live video follow-up. So that's how we can do this going forward. But also, like I said, that I would definitely like to take this offline, in person, so we can have these discussions too, because I think that taking it to a different platform, you can get like more out of it. Some people, I think, will prefer to remain like kind of inconspicuous, low-key. They don't want to reveal their identity, which that's cool too. I don't blame you. Especially with some of the content that you share, you're not quite comfortable in coming out, completely, so to speak, because some people in your family may not be aware that this is you and this is your interest, right? Or this is your concern or problem, right? You feel comfortable sharing it with me anonymously, but you don't feel comfortable, coming out full-fledged so that the world can see this is you, right? I get it. But on that note, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you for this interesting topic suggestion. I feel like this is just the beginning of the conversation. We definitely can continue it. Like, I love topics like this, right? Just thinking outside of the box. I think that there are endless ways a person can be satisfied. And I think that we have to sometimes think clearly outside the box, and the box being the sexual box. Like, we think everything has to start with sex, when really it's the mind that drives all human behavior. It is the mind. And the word is the mind is really in our DNA, right? So it's really our biology, our neurology, and understanding that. If you can understand that, and you can understand really how to really satisfy your partner on that level. So we can definitely go more in depth. But on that note, I have to end this video. I'm going to catch you guys in the next one.